Friends, I welcome you to part 3 of the New Education Policy 2020. In the first video, we talked about the overview of and the salient features of the New Education Policy. Video 2 was confined to specific impacts relating to school education. In this third and last video, I'll be talking through the impacts to higher education, universities and research institutions, and the related regulatory framework. And finally, I'll be providing my own assessment of the policy. Okay, in higher education institutions, the way structure is different from the current structure is, in the new regime, we will be moving to multidisciplinary, larger institutes or universities from single stream related educational institutions. So this will happen in a phased manner. So government is targeting to phase out single stream driven educational institution to multidisciplinary by 2030, and then by 2040 they wanted to basically have a larger institutions which student base of 3,000 plus, so that the infrastructure and resources can be optimally utilized. So besides this, you will have a research intensive learning or universities, and also teaching intensive universities. In research intensive universities, equal impetus will be given for both research and teaching, whereas in teaching intensive universities, more focus will be on teaching, which significant amount of time spent on research activities as well. And also in a graded mechanism, they also classify the colleges into autonomous degree granting universities and also colleges affiliated to existing universities. And as part of the curriculum will include credit-based courses and projects which focus on community engagement and service, much in the lines of CSR in corporate domain. And you also have environment-based learning as well as value-based learning. So environment-based learning is nothing but your climate change, pollution and waste management and other sustainable development initiatives. Whereas value-based learning thrust upon the citizenship value, basically your humanistic values of non-violence, peace, and so on and so forth. Moving on to research institutions, a National Research Foundation will be set up. It will be governed by Board of Governors. This will be an independent body devoid of government intervention. So Board of Governors are accountable and responsible to all stakeholders so that in a more transparent and they disclose all the relevant documents to the stakeholders. And the Board of Directors are expected to adhere to the guidelines set up by NHERC, which is nothing but National Higher Education Regulatory Council, the apex body. So the Board of Governors will be appointed on a rotational basis, and all leadership positions in NRF will be appointed by eminent expert committee constituted by Board of Governors. So an NRF, the responsibility of NRF include funding and promoting research initiatives in India across institutions, and also they act as a liaison between government, corporate bodies and research fraternity. So that whenever the new research comes out, they will communicate to the government, and they also take the requirements from government and corporate bodies and pass it on to the research fraternity. So, and coming back to our governmental spending on research goes, we as a percentile of GDP, our research fund spending is only 0.69%. So when compared to the external world, US spend 2.8% of their GDP on research. Israel and South Korea are on the higher side, 4.3 and 4.2% respectively. I believe, as I mentioned in the first video, government is proposing to increase the spending on education as a percentage of GDP. So this will also be taken care. On the regulatory perspective, as I mentioned again previously, I mean there is going to be a rejig here as well because government wants to streamline and remove this conflict of interest and lack of accountability in the current structure. So in the new structure, NHERC or National Higher Education Regulatory Council is the apex body under whom you will have NAC or National Accreditation Council, whose responsibility to provide accreditations to institutions. Additionally, they also need to curb commercialization of education by setting the upper limit for fee structure and also take care of any grievance that may arise. The next body is HECE, Higher Education Governing Council, who take care of finance and funding needs of higher education. The last body is GEC or General Education Council, who frame the desirable outcomes of education, higher education, who will be supported by PSSB, who are professional bodies in their area of expertise, and they become the members of GEC. So that's about the structure in detail. Coming to my perception or my assessment of the policy, as I said, it's quite exhaustive and widespread. So, I mean, the 66-page document says that a lot of time and effort spent on, focusing on widespread of activities. It looks very good on paper. We all know that with special focus on uplifting or the socio-economically disadvantaged groups, so much so that they want to have a parity of education, both in terms of standards and quality across board. So which is a very good thing. We all know that there are a lot of challenges, and especially on the infrastructure space. I hope government will take a necessary action to address this gap. And it also calls for partnership, working in unison between state and central governments and also the private philanthropists to set up, to make this, what is appearing as a very good draft, to be as a effective system of education in reality as well. Let's hope for the best. Thank you all very much for your patience hearing.